Welcome to the Fright Lab. I'm Lucas Yoakum. It is the 28th entry in our 31 Days of Horror, 31 Days of Halloween, our 31 for 31 challenge. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in through all of these episodes. And man, finally, I've been wanting to cover this one for a while. And it's almost a shame that I'm starting here on such a short episode because I think I could talk about this all night. And maybe we'll do that another time. But for now, we're talking about 1959 Vincent Price, The House on Haunted Hill. Oh man, House on Haunted Hill. What an absolute gem. What an absolute classic. So let's knock the plot out of the way the best we can. There is a wealthy eccentric, of course, played by Vincent Price, who has brought 7 desperate people into a house with a deep, dark reputation. And if they make it through just 12 hours from midnight to morning, they will get $10,000 each, which in 1959 was no small change. And if not, well, they might join the deep, dark reputation of that house. Murder and mayhem ensues. All right, so we are on this show, as some of you know, unambiguous huge fans of Vincent Price, and not just because he's a local boy from the city of St. Louis, but because he's just one of these absolutely underrated legends in horror. Guys like Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, they all get this huge reputation as horror actors, and for good reason. They really were legendary in their field. But it's important to remember that not only was Price a kind of timeline contemporary of theirs, he was friends with all of those actors. They were kind of all in that same weird world of horror acting. Price has this reputation for being a little more jokey, a little more comedic, a little schlocky, and yeah, it is somewhat of a deserved reputation, but he also did terrifying and mean and evil really, really well, and probably in no better place than this film. This is arguably the best of his kind of like early output. It's not my favorite. I am a fan of the abominable Dr. Phibes personally, but I feel like this is a great one. I can't recommend enough putting this in a double feature with another Vincent Price movie, like maybe The Mask of the Red Death. I think those two together really, really, it's peanut butter and jelly, those two. Really good combination of films. So let's talk more about this film in specific, though. Specifically, the animosity between the two characters of Frederick and Annabelle Lauren, who are our antagonists, Frederick being played by Vincent Price. These two characters hate each other so fucking bad, and it shows really well. They had great chemistry together on screen, and the fact that they were pretty much at each other's throat from the word go is such a weird thing to do in a film, to have, I mean, even two antagonists who hate each other. It's happened in enough movies, but where they are just clearly ready to go, and they're married. What a combination, right? Just so much fun. They hate each other in a way that's almost hard to watch a little bit, because it feels like a really toxic, abusive relationship. And I mean, okay, yeah, technically it is, but it's also done in this way that's so charismatic between the two that it's actually interesting to watch. So, neat bit of sequence there. Another thing that's so weird about this movie, and it's one of the things I think about, is movies like this and films like Karloff's The Black Cat. They are so dark. This is a William Castle movie, and Castle has a reputation for being hokey and schlocky and full of gimmicks. And maybe that's true, but I think that this movie is so dark and deals with such ugly subject matter, I don't know how it got through the morality of the day, because it feels like the plot to me feels like something that would have come out actually in the 2000s or 2010s. There was a remake of this movie, by the way, which is mostly forgettable. It's not a bad watch, but it's mostly forgettable. But this movie, I think, is so interesting because, again, I don't know how this one got through film censorship, which, in America was never quite so official as like the video nasties or something. But it is such a just dark, ugly film in that regard. I really do wonder how that happened. Horror in the 1950s has a real reputation for just being schlock. You know, the stuff of drive-in double features, movies as junk food kind of way of thinking. But I would posit that many of the quote-unquote classics of horror predict the idea of horror as being high concept and deeply disturbing. There's a reason why you can end up loving the stuff that you love as a horror fan when you start watching these movies, especially. I think you can draw a movie like this in a straight line with something like Fincher's Seven, you know? Not exactly in terms of plot. They are not one-to-one, and this movie is way tamer and way more socially acceptable, probably, than a film like Seven, which still feels like an incredibly ugly, dark film even now. But I can see how movies like this kind of paved the way, right? That the idea that you can have unlikable protagonists and even less likable antagonists who are involved in all sorts of just mean, awful shit, and they're playing with each other's heads and they're not giving each other any sort of rest or relief. That to me feels very modern, and I wish that more films from this time period had been so daring. In the intervening years between its release and today, House on Haunted Hill has become an absolute classic, and it is available basically anywhere. My favorite of those available anywhere editions of this film has to be for the artist Rob Sheridan when he uploaded it to his YouTube channel, and he used a video cassette copy of it and played it on an old Sony Trinitron TV, and trying to evoke the spooky ambiance of watching horror movies late at night in a pre-digital era. This movie works in that regard, and because it is from, I don't want to say a more naive time, but a time of more naive filmmaking, the movie is so straightforward and uses such beautiful sets, and the effects and scares that do exist are so smartly designed. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's refreshing to see something like this with modern eyes, and I don't know that other films could have made that work that way. Going back to those sets for just a minute, visually, this is one of the coolest looking movies I've seen. There is something about, yes, it's a mansion, but the mansion from the exterior set they used is like an alien temple, you know? It doesn't look like architecture you would see in the modern world. The interiors, they're pretty normal looking, except for when you start getting into questions of like, what is the actual scale or dimensions of this house? Because it feels so huge and sprawling. And then there are spaces within it that, I don't know, they almost don't feel like they line up. It's very House of Leaves-y in that way, without all of the postmodernist madness that goes along with that book. Either way, I think the film looks great even now, and it helps carry that spooky ambiance, that kind of dread around every corner. The shadows are very thick. It's very noir in that way. While I wouldn't call this film noir necessarily, it's closer to that than a lot of modern films would get onto. So, should you, this Halloween season, watch Vincent Price in William Castle's House on Haunted Hill? Yeah, you should. You've only got a few days of the season left. You need to put this on and watch it now, especially if you've never seen it before. Watch it on Rob Sheridan's YouTube channel if you want. Watch it anywhere. It is available for free for streaming. It's just so good. It's just so good and so spooky. It is. I couldn't imagine doing Halloween now without House on Haunted Hill. It's become one of my real go-tos. So let's go ahead and knock this out here, because you need to go watch House on Haunted Hill. And when you're done, what did you think? Is it as good as I say it is? Of course it is. There should be no arguments here. But if you have other opinions about that, I might not agree with them, but you can let us know what they are by reaching out to us at the Fright Lab Podcast at gmail.com. We can be found on YouTube, on Discord, and just about every other social media platform. Just look for the Fright Lab. So you need to go pop a bowl of popcorn and watch this movie. And when you're doing so, remember your old friend, Lucas Yoakum, who writes and researches for this show, told you should watch it. And you should also remember that the one and only Joseph Wren is our producer and normally our co-host, who makes these episodes sound so good. And We appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you all again very soon. Go enjoy House on Haunted Hill, all right? Stop listening to me yap.